The fairy lights draped across my sister-in-law's backyard should have looked magical. They just looked like a trap. 43 guests sat in white folding chairs, arranged in neat little rows, facing a decorated table stacked with pastel-wrapped gifts. And every single one of them was watching me rub my 7-month belly and smile like I meant it. The August heat in Charlotte was ruthless, the kind that sits on your chest. But I kept my sundress smooth and my posture straight, because that's what Dr. Vivian Park does. She shows up, she performs, she survives. My husband Marcus was across the yard talking to his brother Devin, both of them laughing too loud about something I couldn't hear. Marcus looked perfect, which was the problem. He always looked perfect. His mother, Lorraine, had planned this entire baby shower without consulting me once. The invitations went out before I'd even chosen a pediatrician. She'd selected the theme, the menu, the guest list. I'd found out about the event from a Facebook post. When I mentioned that to Marcus, he'd shrugged. "She's excited. Let her have this." Lorraine clapped her hands. The yard fell silent with the trained obedience of people who'd learned long ago not to talk when Lorraine Hale clapped. She stood at the front table, a microphone in her hand that she absolutely did not need, because that woman's voice could cut through a hurricane. "Before we open gifts," she said, beaming her church smile at the crowd, "I have a few words for our beautiful mother-to-be." My best friend Jada, sitting beside me, squeezed my knee under the table. A warning or comfort? Maybe both. Lorraine cleared her throat. When Marcus told us he'd found a doctor, she began, emphasizing the word like it was a punchline. We were thrilled. A professional woman. Impressive. But as this precious baby grows inside her, I've been thinking a lot about what really matters. Not degrees, not titles. What matters is family. My smile held. Just barely. Now, Marcus and I have talked, and his father and I have talked, and Devin and Patricia have talked, and we've all agreed on a few things that will make this transition smooth for everyone. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket, an actual printed document. First, Vivian will be stepping back from the practice after the birth. Full-time mothering is a gift not every woman has the courage to accept, but we believe in it for this family. The yard was silent, not the comfortable kind. Second, since Marcus's salary can cover the household, Vivian's student loans can be restructured using the equity in their home. I've already spoken with our family's financial advisor about this. I felt the blood drain from my face. Our home equity. Spoken with an advisor. Without me. Third, Lorraine continued, reading from her list like it was a grocery run. Sunday dinners will now rotate between our home and Devin and Patricia's. Vivian, you'll be handling the meal prep for our rotation. Patricia has been doing it alone, and frankly, she could use the support. Also, Dad's medical appointments need a coordinator. I've been handling them. But with the baby coming, it makes sense for the younger generation to take over. Vivian, we'll transfer his files to you. She folded the paper with a crisp, satisfied snap, looked directly at me, smiled. We are so blessed to have you in this family, Vivian. We really are. A few people clapped. Most looked at their laps. Patricia, Devin's wife, stared at her hands with the hollow expression of a woman who'd heard this script performed on herself years ago. I set my lemonade down carefully. The ice clinked once. "Lorraine," I said. My voice carried the same way it does when I'm explaining a diagnosis to a patient who doesn't want to hear it. Calm, clear, impossible to misinterpret. Thank you for that. Very thorough. I do have one question, though. She tilted her head, indulgent. Of course, dear. You mentioned Marcus's salary covering the household. Our mortgage is under both our names. My income is 60% of our combined earnings. My student loans are in my name, from my medical degree. When you say you've spoken with a financial advisor about restructuring them using our home equity, did Marcus authorize that conversation? Because I certainly didn't. The indulgent smile cracked. Marcus stepped forward from the edge of the yard. Viv, come on. Mom's just excited. She's brainstorming. Nobody's restructuring anything. But I was watching Lorraine's face, not his, and what I saw there wasn't embarrassment. It was annoyance. The look of a woman whose script had been interrupted by an actor who'd forgotten her lines. I looked at Marcus. And you? In this plan where I quit medicine and become the family scheduler, what's your new responsibility? Are you picking up the cooking? The night feedings? Managing your father's prescriptions? He laughed. That nervous, deflecting laugh I used to find charming. Babe, it's a baby shower. Can we not do this right now? Can we not do this? The same sentence. The eternal request to swallow the humiliation and smile. I stood up. My belly led the way. I'd never felt more visible or more invisible at the same time. I think I need some air, I said, to no one and everyone. Please, enjoy the cake. I walked through the side gate, my sandals steady on the flagstone path. Behind me, the murmur of 43 people trying to pretend that hadn't just happened. Jada caught up with me at my car. She didn't say, "Are you okay?" because she knew better. "How bad is it?" she asked. "I don't know yet," I said, climbing into the driver's seat. But the fact that Lorraine talked to a financial advisor about my home equity without my knowledge? That's not brainstorming, that's reconnaissance. What do you need? I need you to send me the name of that forensic accountant your firm uses. And I need to get home before Marcus does. Jada's eyebrows rose. She was a corporate litigation attorney at one of Charlotte's top firms. She didn't ask questions, she just nodded. Sent. Call me tonight. My apartment, the condo I'd owned since residency, felt different when I walked in. The nursery door was open, the room half painted in the sage green Marcus and I had picked together. His golf clubs leaned against the hallway wall. His mail was on the counter. He'd been living here for 14 months, slowly filling my space with his things. And I let him because that's what you do when you love someone. You make room. I didn't go to the nursery. I went to my office and opened my laptop. Our joint banking account first. Marcus and I each deposited monthly into a shared checking for household expenses. My deposits were consistent, automatic, clean. His were erratic, some months full, some months short by a few hundred. I'd noticed but never pushed. He worked in commercial real estate. Income fluctuated, that's what he'd said. I scrolled back 6 months. A pattern emerged that made my throat tighten. Every month, between $300 and $500 went out via Zelle to L. Hale, Lorraine. The memos were blank, no description, no conversation. Just quiet transfers from our shared account to his mother. Then I saw it. 3 weeks ago. A wire transfer for $8,000 to Hale Family Trust. Memo. Estate planning contribution. $8,000. From our joint account. I hadn't authorized it. I hadn't even known a Hale Family Trust existed. My hands were shaking when I called Jada. She answered on the first ring. How fast can your forensic accountant pull property records? By morning. What are we looking for? I told her about the transfers. About the trust. About the financial advisor Lorraine had casually mentioned at a baby shower like it was a weather update. Jada was quiet for a long time. Then, don't confront him tonight. Act normal. I'm calling Renee Washington. She's the best family law attorney in Mecklenburg County. You're going to need her. Act normal. The 2 hardest words in the English language when the man sleeping next to you might be stealing from your future. Marcus came home at 11, smelling like beer and apology. He brought flowers. Grocery store carnations, the kind that are already wilting when you buy them. Mom feels terrible, he said, setting them on the counter. She didn't mean to ambush you. She just gets these ideas and runs with them. You know how she is. I know how she is, I said. Do you? He frowned. What does that mean? It means your mother announced to 43 people that I would be quitting my career, restructuring my student loans through our home, and becoming your father's medical secretary. And you stood there. You didn't correct her. You didn't even flinch. Because it's not worth fighting about. He sounded exhausted, but not with the situation. With me. She's all talk. None of that's actually going to happen. The financial advisor she mentioned, is that real? He paused. 1 beat too long. She probably called Dave Schilling. He does stuff for the family. It's not a big deal. Dave Schilling. The name Lorraine had mentioned at Easter when she'd been talking about asset protection. I'd thought she meant her own assets. And the Hale Family Trust? I asked, watching his face carefully. Is that not a big deal either? The color left his cheeks. Where did you hear about that? I see our bank statements, Marcus. $8,000. 3 weeks ago. Ring any bells? He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. A defensive posture I recognized from every argument we'd ever had. It's a family thing. My parents set it up years ago for estate planning. Devin and I both contribute. It's for everyone's benefit, including the baby. Including the baby. The baby I was carrying. Whose financial future was apparently being decided in meetings I wasn't invited to. What does the trust own? I asked. He didn't answer. Marcus. What does the Hale Family Trust own? It's complicated. Simplify it for me. I'm a doctor. I can handle complicated. He rubbed his face. The house. My parents' house. Some investment accounts. A rental property Devin manages. And our contributions? The money from our joint account? What does that buy us? Beneficiary status. For the baby. For our family line. Beneficiary. Not ownership. Not control. Beneficiary. Who's the trustee? Me mom. I nodded slowly, the picture crystallizing with horrifying clarity. So your mother controls a trust funded partly by our money, which she can distribute as she sees fit, and she's already told a financial advisor to look into leveraging our home equity. And tonight you brought me dying carnations and told me it's not a big deal. You're twisting everything, he said, but his voice had no fight in it, just the flat tone of a man who'd been caught and was calculating his next move. I'm going to bed, I said. Please sleep on the couch. He didn't argue. That scared me more than anything. Renee Washington's office was on the 14th floor of a glass tower uptown. She was small, sharp, and carried herself like a woman who'd won cases against people far more powerful than the Hale family. Here's what we know, she said, laying printouts across her desk. The Hale Family Trust was established 9 years ago. Lorraine Hale is sole trustee. The trust holds the family home, a rental property in Gastonia, and a brokerage account. Marcus and Devin are listed as equal beneficiaries, but Lorraine has full discretionary power over distributions. She decides who gets what, when, and why. And the contributions from our joint account? Renee pointed to a highlighted line. Marcus has been contributing monthly for at least 2 years. Small amounts, 3 to 500. The 8,000 3 weeks ago was new. That one's interesting because it coincides with a filing I found. She slid another document across. A draft amendment to the trust that would add real property, specifically a residential address I recognized. That's my condo, I whispered. It's a draft, not filed. But it was prepared by Dave Schilling 3 weeks ago, the same day as the wire transfer. They were trying to put my home into Lorraine's trust. The room tilted. 7 months pregnant, sitting in a lawyer's office, learning that the family I'd married into was trying to absorb my largest asset into a structure controlled entirely by my mother-in-law. Here's the good news, Renee said, her voice steady as a railing. The condo is in your name alone, premarital asset. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, but premarital property stays yours unless you commingle it. They cannot add it to the trust without your signature. And you haven't signed anything. But the joint account, that's where it gets messy. The contributions to the trust from shared funds could be considered marital waste. We can argue he diverted community funds without your consent. I'll need a full accounting. My phone buzzed. Marcus. I silenced it. Then Lorraine. Then Devin. Then Marcus again. The pattern was familiar. The swarm was starting. Don't engage, Renee said. Same playbook every time with families like this. They panic, then they perform concern, then they threaten. Let them cycle. We prepare. Jada had forwarded the forensic accountant's preliminary report. It was worse than I'd expected. Over 2 years, Marcus had transferred nearly $19,000 from our joint account to the family trust. On top of that, he'd co-signed a line of credit against the Gastonia rental property, using his beneficiary status as collateral. The lender was a private firm connected to Dave Schilling's network. He's been building his family's portfolio with your money, Renee said flatly, while telling you his income fluctuates. That night, Marcus didn't come home. He texted once. Staying at Devon's. You need to calm down. We'll talk when you're rational. Rational. That word again. The universal code for stop noticing what I'm doing. Lorraine called at 9 the next morning. I let it ring 4 times, then answered with my phone recording. Vivian, dear. Marcus is distraught. This misunderstanding has gone far enough. Come to Sunday dinner. We'll sit down as a family and sort this out. I'll make your favorite. I don't have a favorite at your table, Lorraine. But I do have a question. The $8,000 Marcus wired to your trust 3 weeks ago, was that before or after Dave Schilling drafted the amendment to add my condo to the trust assets? The silence lasted 7 seconds. I counted. I don't know what you think you've found, she said, her voice dropping the sweetness like a mask hitting the floor, but you're a guest in this family. You don't get to audit us. I'm not a guest. I'm the woman carrying your grandchild. And I'm not auditing you. My lawyer is. Lawyer. The word landed like a grenade. You've hired a lawyer. Against your own family. Against the people diverting my money into a trust I didn't know existed, and trying to add my property to it without my consent. Yes. Silence again. Then, colder than I'd ever heard her. You will regret this. We built this family. We protect this family. If you think some lawyer can come between us and our grandchild, you are deeply, dangerously mistaken. Are you threatening my custody, Lorraine? I'm telling you how things work. I'm recording this call. And what you just said is going to work very well for my attorney. Thank you. I hung up. My hands were trembling, but my mind was a cathedral of silence. Clear, vast, resolute. Renee moved fast. A demand letter went out that afternoon to Marcus, Lorraine, Dave Schilling, and the private lender. It outlined the unauthorized transfers, the attempted property seizure, the coercive baby shower speech, and Lorraine's recorded custody threat. It demanded full restitution of diverted funds, immediate dissolution of Marcus's beneficiary contribution from joint assets, and a signed acknowledgement that no member of the Hale family would seek to challenge custody or add marital property to the trust. The response came not from a lawyer, but from Devon, Marcus's brother. He showed up at my clinic during lunch. The receptionist tried to stop him, but he pushed past her into my office. You need to back off, he said, his jaw tight. You're destroying this family over some bookkeeping. Bookkeeping. $19,000 and an attempted property theft. My parents built everything from nothing, he continued pacing. The trust is how we protect what they built. Marcus contributing is just what we do. It's not theft, it's loyalty. Loyalty funded by my paycheck without my knowledge. He stopped pacing. You really don't get it, do you? When you married Marcus, you joined us. Your money, your property, your career, it all serves the family now. That's how it works. Mom ran this family for 30 years. She's earned the right to direct how resources flow. I leaned back in my chair, my belly pressing against the desk. I placed my hand on it, felt my daughter kick. Devon, I said quietly, your mother just threatened my custody on a recorded phone call. Your brother has been siphoning our joint funds for 2 years. And you're standing in my medical office telling me my career exists to serve your family. I need you to leave before I call security. And tell your mother that my lawyer's number is the only one she should be dialing. He left. But not before muttering something about me not lasting a year. The next 72 hours were a legal blitz. Renee filed an emergency motion to freeze the joint account. She submitted the recording of Lorraine's custody threat as evidence of a hostile domestic environment. And she found the thread that unraveled everything. Dave Schilling's firm had prepared the trust amendment without my signature, without my knowledge, and without legal standing to include property solely in my name. But buried in the filing paperwork was a forged authorization form. Someone had signed my name. The signature was close but wrong. The V in Vivian looped the wrong direction, exactly the way Marcus wrote it. He forged your signature, Renee said, holding up the document. On a legal filing, that's a felony. Marcus called that night, sobbing. Viv, please. I didn't know what I was signing. Mom and Dave handled everything. I just did what they told me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't take my daughter from me. The pleading. The tears. The deflection to his mother. It was all so predictable it hurt. Marcus, I said. My voice so steady it surprised me. You forged my name on a legal document. You funneled $19,000 of our money to your mother's trust. You sat silently while she announced my career was over. And now, you're crying. Because there are consequences. I don't want to take your daughter from you. I want you to deserve her. Talk to your lawyer. I hung up and sat in the dark nursery, my hand on my belly. The sage-green walls looked silver in the moonlight. My daughter moved inside me, restless and alive, and I made her a silent promise. No one would ever hand her a script. No one would ever tell her that her worth was measured in service. She would enter a world where her mother had fought, not with cruelty, but with clarity, to ensure that love never came with a leash. The settlement took 11 days. Marcus, facing forgery charges he couldn't survive professionally, agreed to everything. Full restitution of all diverted funds. Sole ownership of my condo confirmed with a new title search. A structured custody agreement with a morality clause preventing any Hale family member from making unilateral decisions about our daughter's welfare. Dave Schilling's firm, facing a bar complaint from Renee, voluntarily dissolved the trust amendment and issued a written apology. Lorraine sent nothing. No letter. No check. No apology. Just silence, which was the most honest thing she'd ever given me. On a cool October morning, I went into labor. Jada drove me to the hospital. Marcus was allowed in the delivery room per our agreement, and to his credit, he was quiet and present and cried when he held her. We named her Zoe. It means life. 6 months later, I stood at a podium in the Charlotte Convention Center. The audience was 300 women, mostly professionals, mostly mothers, mostly people who'd been handed a script by someone else's family and told to smile. I opened a nonprofit called Clear Title, not a law firm, a resource center. Financial literacy workshops for women entering marriages, template prenuptial agreements reviewed pro bono by volunteer attorneys, a hotline for people who suspected their assets were being diverted by family members. Renee joined the board. Jada handled corporate partnerships. Patricia, Devin's wife, the woman who'd stared at her hands during Lorraine's speech, called me 3 months after the baby shower. She'd been living under the same system for 8 years. She became our first client and eventually our outreach director. I didn't mention the Hales by name. I didn't have to. The architecture of control is the same everywhere. Different wallpaper. Same locked doors. Marcus and I co-parent. He moved to a small apartment near his office. He sees Zoe every Wednesday and alternate weekends. He's in therapy, which I know because his therapist called me once, with his permission, to ask about the family dynamics. I told her what I knew. She thanked me and said he had a long road ahead. I believed her. He never went to Montana. He never left Charlotte. He just got smaller, which was the saddest part. Not a villain. Just a man who'd never been allowed to become himself. Last month, a woman named Keisha walked into our office. 26 years old, pregnant, engaged to a man whose mother had just informed her she'd be quitting her nursing job to manage the family's rental properties. Full-time, no salary, just the privilege of being part of the family. I sat across from her and said the words that would have saved me 2 years of pain if anyone had said them to me. You are not a resource to be managed. You are a person with a life that belongs to you. Let's make sure it stays that way, she cried. Then she got angry. Then she got a lawyer. That's the cycle. Grief, then fury, then freedom. I know it well. I named my organization after it because every woman deserves a clear title, not just to her property, but to her own life. Zoe is 8 months old now. She has my eyes and Marcus's stubborn chin. She grabs everything within reach, pulls it close, and refuses to let go. I watch her and think, good. Hold on tight, baby girl. But only to the things that hold you back with equal force. The fairy lights at that baby shower were supposed to be magical. They weren't. But the ones I hung in Zoe's nursery, the ones I chose myself, in my home, on my terms, those ones actually are.